Have you ever had that moment where you're lying in bed next to him, the room is quiet, your skin is still warm, and suddenly the thought crosses your mind, why did he really just have sex with me? Or was it because he's crazy about you, because he's deeply in love? Or was it something else? Something you may not see on the surface, but that silently drives his actions. See, here's the truth that most men will never tell you out loud. Sex isn't always about desire for you. Sometimes it's about what you represent in that moment. And when you understand these hidden reasons, you stop getting lost in mixed signals. You stop confusing lust for love. And most importantly, you start to see who is really there for you and who is just there for what you can give. Now, before you panic or start questioning every man you've ever been with, let me reassure you, this isn't about scaring you. This is about empowering you, because once you know the truth, you can finally take back control. Most women assume men only sleep with them for one reason: attraction. He must like me, otherwise why would he take me to bed? But ladies, that's where so many get hurt, because attraction is only the surface. Underneath, there are layers: ego, curiosity, escape, even loneliness that can drive a man straight into your bed while his heart stays miles away. And I want you to think about this. How many times have you mistaken sex for intimacy? How many times have you thought, he wanted me last night, so he must want me in his life? Only to find out that the morning after, he pulls away, he ghosts, or he keeps you dangling with just enough attention to keep you around. That's why in this video, I'm going to reveal the 5 hidden reasons men will have sex with you. Some will shock you, some will make you smile, and some will hurt a little, but each of them will open your eyes. Because when you know the why, you stop being played, you stop settling for half-hearted connection, and you start holding out for the man who doesn't just want your body, but actually craves you. So let's dive in. Ladies, let's start with one of the most common but least talked about reasons men have sex with women: validation. Now, you might think validation is harmless, but let me explain. For a lot of men, sex isn't just about attraction, it's about proving something to themselves. Every time a man is intimate with a woman, it whispers something to his ego. It says, I'm still desirable, I'm still wanted, I've still got it. And here's the tricky part: he might not even realize he's doing it. Think about that guy you know who's always chasing women, never settling down, always needing the next one. On the surface, it looks like confidence. You think, whoa, he must have options, he must feel amazing about himself. But often the reality is the opposite. Deep down, he feels insecure, and the only way he knows how to soothe that insecurity is through sexual validation. Every new woman is like a little hit of dopamine, a quick ego boost, a stamp that says, yes, I still matter. Now let's get real for a second. Women do this too, right? Maybe not in the exact same way, but how many times have you entertained a guy you didn't really like just because the attention felt good? How many times have you texted back someone you weren't interested in, not because you wanted him, but because it felt nice to know he wanted you? Exactly. Men do it too, but with sex. Here's why this matters for you. If a man is sleeping with you for validation, then his attention has nothing to do with you and everything to do with him. It's not about your connection, your personality, or your future. It's about his fragile ego in that moment. That's why you'll sometimes meet a guy who is incredibly persistent at first. He pursues you like you're the only woman on earth. He flirts, he calls, he makes you feel like the most beautiful woman alive. And then right after sex, something changes. He cools off, he disappears. He goes from hot to cold so fast, you're left questioning, what happened? Did I do something wrong? But you didn't. What happened is he got the validation he was looking for. And once that box was ticked, the urgency disappeared. Now, let me be clear, this doesn't mean that every man who sleeps with you for validation is a bad guy. Sometimes it's subconscious. Sometimes it's not malicious at all. He's simply acting out of a need he doesn't fully understand. But here's the danger: if you confuse his validation seeking for genuine interest, you risk giving your heart to someone who never intended to stay. So how do you spot it? How do you know if a man is with you for validation instead of real connection? Clue I1, he's obsessed with the chase but loses interest quickly after. Clue P2, he needs constant reassurance, compliments, attention, flirting to feel secure. A clue V3, he talks more about what you do for his ego than about who you are as a person. A man who truly desires you will stick around when the mystery fades. He'll want to know your mind, your quirks, your heart, not just your body. Ladies, here's the power move. Never confuse his desire for validation with proof of your worth. his behavior is about him, not about you. Because the woman who knows this, who understands that sex can sometimes be just an ego game for a man, is the woman who doesn't give her body to every man who flashes a little attention. She waits for the one who shows up consistently, who invests outside the bedroom, who validates her not with fleeting passion, but with genuine commitment. So remember, validation might get him into your bed, but only true connection will keep him by your side. Sometimes a man will have sex with you not because of who you are, but because of what you help him forget. For many men, intimacy becomes a form of escape, a way to silence the noise in their heads, to push away the stress, the failures, the weight of responsibilities, even just for a night. It's not always about passion, and it's not always about wanting you. Sometimes it's about needing a break from himself. Think about it. A man who feels like his job is crushing him, or like he's falling short in his life, may crave sex not because he wants closeness, but because he wants a distraction. In that moment, you become his refuge. The act itself becomes like a drug. He doesn't have to think about his bills, his problems, or the gnawing voice in his head that tells him he isn't enough. For that little pocket of time, he gets to shut the world out. And while that can feel intoxicating, even flattering, because you feel like the one who takes his pain away, it can also be dangerous if you mistake it for real connection. You might notice this kind of man often comes alive in the moment, but disappears just as quickly once reality returns. He's magnetic when he's in your arms, but distant the next day. He says all the right things when he's undressing you, but avoids real conversations when you ask about his feelings. That's because his intimacy with you isn't about building something together. It's about escaping what he doesn't want to face alone. This can be confusing for women because his intensity feels so real. He holds you tightly, he kisses you like you're salvation, and you might think, whoa, he must really care about me. But the truth is, sometimes he's just clinging to the relief you represent. When the world is heavy, you're the closest thing to a safe place. And yet, when the escape is over, when he's slept, when morning comes, so do his problems. And instead of staying with you to face them, he pulls away, leaving you wondering what you did wrong. But you didn't do anything wrong. You were simply a shelter for the night. And here's the part that stings. A man who uses sex as escapism isn't in it to connect with you. He's in it to disconnect from himself. Now, that doesn't mean he's a bad person. It doesn't mean he consciously set out to use you. Often he doesn't even realize it. But if you're not aware of it, you can spend weeks, months, even years thinking he'll eventually see you, fall for you, commit to you, when in reality, he was only ever searching for an emotional escape route. If you've ever felt like you've given a man the most vulnerable parts of yourself only to feel empty afterward, this is probably why. Because you were expecting sex to bring closeness, but he was using it to run away from closeness. You were expecting intimacy to move you forward, while he was using it to pause his life. And here's the key: real connection doesn't happen when someone is trying to escape. Real connection happens when a man is present with you, not when he's hiding in you. If you notice, he only seeks you out when he's down, stressed, or in crisis, but not when life is steady. That's a sign he's looking for relief, not relationship. The challenge is to recognize when a man wants you as his partner and when he only wants you as his painkiller. Because if you don't, you'll confuse his temporary escape for lasting love. And you deserve more than being someone's escape. You deserve to be someone's choice, even when the world isn't falling apart. Curiosity is one of the most underestimated reasons men will have sex with you, and yet it happens all the time. Sometimes it's not about love, not about deep attraction, not even about validation or escape. It's about the mystery, about the unanswered question in his head. What would it be like to be with her? That question alone can pull a man closer, not because he sees a future, but because he wants to satisfy a craving for the unknown. Now here's what's interesting. Curiosity often comes wrapped in charm. When a man is curious about you, he'll study the way you smile. He'll notice how you walk into a room. He'll find reasons to linger in conversation just to get closer. And you might think, he's into me. He must like me. But sometimes what he's actually into is the fantasy of you, the intrigue of experiencing something he hasn't before. It's not always about who you are, but what you represent in his imagination. It's a lot like someone eyeing a beautifully wrapped present under a Christmas tree. The box is mysterious, the bow is perfect, And the only thing they can think about is what's inside. They can't stop until they've unwrapped it. But here's the problem: once the gift is opened, once the mystery is solved, the excitement fades, and the man who was once fascinated can suddenly become distant because his curiosity has been satisfied. You may have experienced this before. A guy who chased you intensely, who flirted endlessly, who built up the tension so high that you thought it meant something deeper, only for things to cool down right after you finally gave in. That doesn't mean you weren't desirable. It means his reason was curiosity. And once that curiosity was answered, the urgency disappeared. The danger here is that curiosity can look very similar to genuine interest. The texts, the calls, the flirting, the way he makes you feel like the only woman in the room, all of that can make you believe his heart is invested. But curiosity is a short-term driver. It burns hot. It burns bright, but it doesn't always last. And if you confuse it with love, you can end up giving your heart away to someone who only wanted the experience, not the relationship. Now, curiosity doesn't always mean he has bad intentions. Sometimes it's innocent. Sometimes it's playful. Sometimes a man is simply drawn to you because you feel different from what he's used to, and that makes him want to explore. The problem comes when his curiosity is the only fuel behind his actions, because when that's the case, once he's satisfied, there's nothing left to keep him there. This is why it's so important to watch how he behaves after intimacy. Does he stay consistent? Does he keep investing? Does he want to know more about who you are? Or does he fade? Does he lose momentum? Does he stop trying once he's crossed that line? That's how you tell whether curiosity was his real motive, just part of a bigger picture. And ladies, here's the mindset shift. Don't be flattered just because a man is curious about you. Curiosity is natural. Every woman has men who are curious about her. What matters is whether his curiosity turns into commitment, whether he moves from fantasy into reality, whether he's still showing up when the mystery is gone. Because at the end of the day, you're not a puzzle to be solved or an itch to be scratched. You're a woman who deserves more than to be someone's experiment. And the right man won't just want to satisfy his curiosity. He'll want to keep discovering you long after he already knows what it's like to be with you sometimes. The reason a man has sex with you is brutally simple, not because of love, not because of curiosity, not because of escape, but because he can, because the access is there. And this is one of the hardest truths to swallow because it feels personal, but really it isn't. Here's what I mean. For some men, sex is less about deep feelings and more about opportunity. If it's available, if you're willing, if the situation is convenient, he'll take it. Not because he's secretly in love, not because he's planning a future, but because the door was open and he decided to walk through it. And that can be painful because as women, you're often wired to attach more meaning to intimacy. You may think, if I let him this close, it must mean something. But for him, it may not mean more than availability. Think about that guy who hits you up late at night, never at dinner time, never to check in about your day, but always with that, "What are you doing?" text at 11 p.m. He's not building a connection. He's looking for access. Think about the man who doesn't put in much effort outside the bedroom, but shows up the moment he thinks you'll let him in. That's not love, that's convenience. And here's where women often get hurt. Because he's there physically, it's easy to assume he must want something emotionally. But availability and affection are not the same thing. Just because he's eager to touch you doesn't mean he's eager to know you. Just because he's consistent in the bedroom doesn't mean he'll be consistent in life. What makes this reason tricky is how subtle it can be. He might even say the right words in the moment. He might tell you you're beautiful, that he wants you, that you drive him crazy. And while all of that may be true in that second, it doesn't necessarily mean he sees you as someone to build with. In fact, if you pay close attention, you'll notice that outside of sex, he puts in very little effort. He doesn't ask deep questions. He doesn't invest in your dreams. He doesn't show up when you really need him because his motivation is access, not emotion. The danger here is mistaking availability for value. If you let a man's presence in the bedroom convince you of his presence in your life, you'll find yourself giving more and more while getting very little back. And that cycle leaves you drained because you keep hoping his physical presence will eventually translate into emotional commitment. So how do you tell if a man is motivated by access instead of love? Pay attention to when he reaches for you. If it's only when it's easy, only when you're convenient, only when it requires little effort on his part, that's not love, that's opportunity. The man who genuinely wants you won't just show up when it's simple. He'll show up when it's hard. He'll invest when it costs him time, energy, even vulnerability. Ladies, here's the truth. You are not valuable because you are accessible. You are valuable because of who you are. And the man who sees that will prove it in how he treats you when sex isn't on the table. He'll want your company in the daylight, not just your body in the dark. So remember, access might get him into your bed, but only emotion, only investment, only love will keep him in your life. And the moment you start holding men to that standard, you stop being an option and you become the prize. There's one reason men will have sex with you that feels completely different from all the others we've talked about. It isn't about ego, it isn't about escape, it isn't about curiosity, and it certainly isn't about convenience. It's about something deeper, something that actually matters, and that's real connection. When a man is motivated by real connection, sex stops being just physical. It becomes emotional. It becomes the way he expresses the depth of what he feels for you. It's not just about release, not about ticking a box, not about adding another notch on his belt. It's about closeness, intimacy, and the need to fuse his world with yours, even just for that moment. You'll know the difference because it shows up not only in the bedroom, but everywhere else. The man who's there for connection doesn't just reach for you when you're undressed. He reaches for you when you're stressed. He holds you when you're vulnerable. He looks into your eyes like he's searching for something only you can give him. That's how you know sex for him is more than a transaction. It's a reflection of something real. Think about how it feels when you're with a man like that. The way he touches you isn't rushed. The way he speaks to you isn't careless. There's a slowness, a presence, as if he doesn't want to just have you, he wants to experience you. And after it's over, he doesn't roll over and disappear into his phone. He stays. He talks. He pulls you closer, because for him, intimacy isn't the end of something, it's the beginning. This kind of man doesn't use sex as a tool to escape, validate himself, or satisfy curiosity. He uses it as a language, a way of saying, I see you, I want you, I'm here with you. And that's why women who experience this kind of intimacy describe it as unforgettable, because when a man shows up fully, body, mind, and heart, you feel cherished, not used. You feel wanted, not just desired. You feel chosen. Now, here's the catch. Not every man is ready or able to connect like this. It takes maturity. It takes vulnerability. It takes a willingness to open up in ways a lot of men aren't comfortable with, which is why this kind of connection is rare and why you need to recognize it when it happens. If you want to know whether a man is motivated by real connection, look at his consistency. Does he show up outside the bedroom? Does he care about your day, your dreams, your fears? Does he make an effort to know you, not just your body? Because when sex is about real connection, his behavior matches his desire. His actions outside of intimacy confirm what happens inside of it. Ladies, the truth is, sex with a man who's there for connection feels different because it is different. It's not transactional, it's transformational. It leaves you feeling fuller, not emptier. It deepens your bond instead of making you question it. And that's the kind of intimacy you deserve. So here's the challenge. Don't settle for the men who only want validation, escape curiosity, or access. Hold out for the man who wants connection, because when you find him, you won't have to wonder why he's with you. You'll feel it in every word, every touch, every look. He won't just want sex with you. He'll want you. And that makes all the difference. So ladies, now you know the truth. Men don't always sleep with you for the reasons you think. Sometimes it's about validation. Sometimes it's about escape. Sometimes it's curiosity. Other times it's just because access was easy. And yes, sometimes if you're lucky, and if he's ready, it's because of real connection. But here's the most important thing to take away. Sex doesn't automatically equal love. And a man's desire for your body doesn't always mean he desires you. Once you understand the hidden reasons, you take your power back. You stop giving your body to men who don't deserve it. You stop wasting energy trying to turn curiosity into commitment. And you start holding yourself at a higher standard, the kind of standard that attracts the man who actually wants you, not just what's convenient. And when that man comes along, the one who shows up consistently, who invests in you, who wants to connect on every level, you'll know the difference. Because he won't just make love to your body, he'll make love to your soul. So here's my challenge the next time a man tries to get close. Ask yourself, why is he really here? Look beyond the moment. Look beyond the chemistry and trust your instincts, because when you know his reason, you know your worth. If this opened your eyes, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with a friend who needs to hear this. And if you want more raw, honest insights into the male mind, make sure you hit subscribe, because trust me, the next video will reveal even more secrets that men will never tell you.